Hello, my name is John Spangle, and welcome to my YouTube channel, where I titled it Underground. I always explain the reason I came up with the title. I was thinking about the underground church in present day China and Iran, where the outpouring of the Spirit is expounding everywhere. Excuse me, let me turn this phone off so no one. I thought I'd just give a quick video. I'm in the process of making my video for today. Won't be probably that long of a video. It's answering a question someone said. They kind of mockingly said something, and I decided, well, I'm just going to answer this question. And that's what my video's about. But I just want to give a shout out. As always, I always explain real quick. So many people coming here new. I just throw out a quick introduction. We're waiting for the pre-tribulation rapture. It's about to happen any day now. We can see that the war in Israel is the timing of everything, and we're in that season. Whether it happens today, tomorrow, or next month, or the month after, we're just so close, people. Uh, it, I've been looking since really the last 5 months, really looking at how close we are. But I always talk about on this channel. It's all about that time frame. That's way. I look at where God has put us, and so this is where this channel's gone. It's all about God, so it's His direction, not John Spangle's. I make mistakes, I make errors, but it's all for God and the way things go. And like I'd like to put out there for people that are understanding the rapture, the word rapture is not in the Bible. Don't get hung up over it because you can't find the word. People, it's ridiculous. I get so many people at the channel attack. Well, the rapture's not in the Bible. Well, the Bible's not written in English, so why don't you study the Greek? Unfortunately, some people I was watching you have to be careful on some of the translations because someone was using the Greek and twisting some of Paul's teachings the other day, and I was like, man, that just God will lead you to right, correct direction. Give everything to God. Study the Word. Maybe that might be a video I'll do later, really about studying, so you can learn things. But the rapture is an English word for the Latin word rapturo. I'm not good on Latin. But that's for the Greek word harpazo. The New Testament was written in Oconic Greek. That's the Greek of Paul's time. See, there's two different Greeks. Everything translates different. Same as if you hear anything out, that's the cats running around. They're playing like crazy right now, so they're wound up. Especially Patches, he's chasing the girls all over the place. Harpazo is the Greek phrase for that we use for rapture, and we use it in English as in caught up, a falling away, departure, translated, taken up, cometh thither. Words like that are the phrases for harpazo. So yes, and yes, phrases are throughout the Bible. People will attack that. I had one gentleman attack the other day, just saying, I should be repentive for teaching such a false doctrine. But then when I go to his channel, sometimes I do go to their channels and look at things to see where they're coming from. Just like yesterday, I spent 2 hours looking at why people believe that there's no pre-tribulation rapture. So I go back and forth. That's how I am. I study. I look at this. I'm gonna say, am I correct in what I'm putting out there? So I'll face it because your sound doctrine. It's okay. I've always had, like for example, I've always had. I did 6 years where I studied with someone. I'm studying like a Shotokan type karate, right? With a Muslim brother for 6 years in the military, Rashid Sheikh. And for 6 years, we trained every week. And so he's Muslim, I'm Christian. So I learned a lot about Islam from him. Now, that's not bad. That does not take away because now I could talk. When I spent 16 months in a combat zone in Iraq, I was able to use what I learned from him to communicate with Muslims and actually talk about God. All right. Now, if I've I don't know if I let anybody or anything. That's all God. But at least I have understanding of where they come from, and that's what it's about. God gives us so much in our lives. But I put out there pre-tribulation rapture scripture. You're looking at Matthew 24, 36 through 51, 1 Corinthians 15, 51 through 58, 1 Thessalonians 4, 13 through 18, 1 Thessalonians 5, 1 through 11, 2 Thessalonians 2, 1 through 17. Revelation 19, 1 through 16 talks about us being in heaven right before we come down with Jesus Christ's second coming. Amos chapter 8, 11 through 12 talks about a famine of not finding anything about scriptures. Why? Because the church is up in heaven during the 7-year tribulation. I always refer to Daniel chapter 9. The whole chapter 1 through 27 explains the 7-year tribulation. And people will not see this, and people will argue, and I expect that. But the reason I want to do this real quick, I just wanted to give out a story. The title of this, I think it's going to be something like the minister found a chicken bone between his toenails. Between his toes. Not toenails. Between his toes. It's based on a couple things that's happened in my life. I grew up in church, and I grew up very active in church. And back in the day, the church was like, church I went to, there's 300 plus people. Now, there may be like 20 people over there that go. It's farther away from the interstate, but I think now they've got a minister that's good over there. I went over and talked to him. That's been over a year ago, and we had a talk forever because he didn't know who I was. I introduced myself and said I just want to check out the church and told him things, and we talked. And luckily, he had the time. It just mattered where time got perfect timing where he wasn't busy at the moment. We probably talked 2 hours. Met his wife. We walked around and we were talking about different things, talking about the building because I was there when that building was built. Back then, because the church went from one building to another, went to a bigger building. And so then I told some of my stories. I was always in trouble. But growing up in church, what we did was every year we had a homecoming meal. And it was me, Brian Birch, and Chris White. We were sitting back there one day in church, and we were thinking, man, this was around I was 14 because I was baptized when I was around 14. And I'll get to reason for that in a minute. We were there, we were talking, and I was thinking, man, I'm thinking of that lemon meringue pie. We were hungry. The minister was going extra long that day talking on a sermon. Man, I keep thinking about that lemon meringue pie. What about you? And he's like, shut up, man. I was like, man, I'm getting hungry. My stomach's growling. So we talked ourselves into sneaking downstairs during the sermon. Yes, young men not doing so good. And we decided to sneak down in there and get some pie real quick. Well, once we got down there, we realized if we eat pie, they'll see us eat the pie be missing, we'll get in trouble. And then we thought, well, we can grab some chocolate chip cookies. And then it was like, oh man, I had to see, I'm a country boy. I saw some chicken, some fried chicken. I had to get me some fried chicken. So we got the chicken. We got all of our food, right? And we're going to eat real quick and go back upstairs and finish listening to the sermon. And while we're down there, we're here. One of the men that would check on us boys, keep us in line, Don Taylor. We heard him walking around. He's like, oh, what do we do? So we ran to the bathroom. We didn't think. We ran to the bathroom on the side, but he was down there where the big bathrooms were. They had 2 bathrooms on the other side of the kitchen. Then on the other side of the church, or in the basement, they had big bathrooms for there. So we ran into the little bathrooms. Well, there was only like a toilet, a urinal, sink, and trash can. Well, we went in there was no trash can, so we couldn't throw the stuff in the trash. What are we doing? And we were hearing him walking. It's like, oh no, what do we do? So it's like trying to flush the evidence down the toilet, right? And it's like you only can flush so much. And he hears a toilet flush and then flush, and we're trying to flush the evidence. We don't want to get caught. All right. So I didn't know what to do. I still had the chicken. I ate it real quick, but I had the chicken bones. I'm like, what do chicken bones? Can't flush me down the toilet. And our minister had a waist waders they would carry. And he would, when he baptized people, he'd wear these waist waders and walk in the thing in baptistry and baptize people. So, I threw it down there and get it later. What are you doing? I'll get it later. 2 weeks later, we're in church. It's in the service. And my father's called up. No one knew. Took the whole family by surprise. He had been talking to the minister. He'd been wanting to get baptized. And I was like, called me up. You help your dad? I was like, yeah. I was excited. Went back there. And then as I seen the minister put on the waist waders, I remembered I forgot to get that chicken. And I started to say something. I was like, and I heard him go, yeah, just give a yell. And because we were in one area getting dressed, they have two different areas, minister getting dressed, and then my father was getting dressed. And my mother, of course, walked up and helped my father in the area because he puts on a different set of clothes, because he's going to get all wet, And so me and the minister were in the other area, and he pulls out, and in between his big toe and his other toe on his right foot is a big chicken bone. I mean, got it right in there with blood, and he's cleaning it up, and I'm helping him with his foot. I pull it out. He pulled it out, but I'm not trying to help him clean it up. And then he's like, "You got to tell me," because he knew the way I reacted, and I told him the story. He started laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing. Well, we got the foot taken care of best we could, and then he was limping down because the baptistry was 2 steps going down. So here's my dad waiting on him, and he's giving him the look, and he's just having the hardest time walking down there. So he baptized my father and came back up, and so my dad, later went in there. Man, I knew I was going to get in trouble. I knew I was going to get into it. And my dad walked in there. He said, "All right, what's going on? Why is Ron's limping?" And he's pointing at me like he knew, like he knew I did something. Because I always was getting in trouble, young man. And I said, "Well, sir," I talked to my dad when I was in trouble, sir. And then I told the story. Ron was just laughing. Ron Barnes was named the minister. He was just laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing about that chicken bone. He didn't have a problem with it at all. But Dad, yeah, when I got home, he took the belt and whooped my butt, which I definitely deserved. That's a problem nowadays. People don't get punished when they do something wrong, and they absolutely do something wrong, and they deserved it. But we thought a lot of him when we were kids, Ron. And I'm sorry, I'm thinking of them. They're all past now, my dad and Ron. But we had me and the boys, Sunday nights. You could go downstairs. We were old enough. We were around 14. We'd go downstairs. I was 13, 14. Like I was, at the time I was 14, I think Brian was a year older than me and Chris a couple years younger than me. But we, no, it was not Brian. It was me and Chris. Brian wasn't coming on Sunday nights. They lived farther away. They came on Sunday mornings. So we were at night getting in the habit of sneaking, being young boys, instead of going downstairs like everybody thought we were in the you call it junior church, junior high people can go down there, or you have a chance to stay in the sermon. We were staying for the sermon. I love to listen to sermons, even at a young age. But we decided to sneak upstairs where they had the nursery soundproof room. And we sneak in there in a big open area in the balcony where we crawl. And then go in there and spin. We watched the time, and then came back down and get back and wait for everybody to come up from downstairs, and we go in behind them, come on in. Well, this was going on for about 3 weeks. Well, finally, one day we were in there getting ready there, and Ron's like, "Hey, you guys come up. I want to say something to you." Yeah, we come up. Yeah. So you guys going to stay up here or go downstairs? "Oh, we'll probably go downstairs." I said, "Well, don't quit going up in that nursery at night. You either stay up here for the sermon, or you go downstairs." We were like, "How did he know?" We were looking at each other like, "What? This is a man of God. How did he know?" And he just smiled. So we started going downstairs and staying downstairs. Well, for a while, then finally later, it just bugged us. And Chris was like, "You ask him. No, you ask him. So finally, one night before church, I said, we're going to go downstairs. He smiled at us. I said, "I got to know. How do you know?" And he started laughing. He said, "For 3 weeks in a row." See, what it is we crawl underneath the pews, back of the pews, because no one's in the, and during the day, there's people up in the balcony, but there was not enough there at night. There's still quite a bit, like 70 small people, but they were downstairs. Well, what it was there was a light, and that light shined up on a stained glass window that showed Jesus praying at the Garden of Gethsemane scene. Well, he would see our shadows because we didn't really think about that light. So for 3 weeks in a row, he would see our shadows cross that light, shadow, 2 people crawling into that room. Then later, towards the end of the sermon, he'd look up and he'd see those shadows go back. So he knew. He figured out right off the bat because he looked around and he saw the two people that were missing, the two that always got in trouble. So I just want to tell you those two stories just to be uplifting today through some hard stuff and hard times. Working on this message I'm going to put out today. But there's a lot in our lives, and that's what it's all about. We're about to have a reunion in heaven. Yes, those people just cannot see the pre-tribulation rapture. They're not going to see it. But I'm still going to go over every day and put stuff out there for it because I want to be obedient to God and warn people. But we're going to have all kinds of stories to tell in heaven. I got a couple of gentlemen I can't wait to talk to, and that's hanging out with Stan and Reverend Pork Chop. Them two guys, we're going to have a lot of stories to talk about. But I just want to give this as just a like a short video, couple short stories how Minister got a chicken bone in between his two toes and how he figured out how us boys were sneaking off. Now I understand. I know what you think. I'm such a bad guy because I had an opportunity when they did gave us sermons. We made cassette tapes of the sermons. This is back in the 70s, 80s. And it made cassette tapes that we would give to the shut-ins, people that, so you didn't have internet back then, you could do a YouTube channel, obviously. So I got the opportunity to tape those sermons. And I loved it, actually, because I loved listening to sermons. Even as a young man, I liked to listen to sermons. Well, I had Brian and Chris quite a few Sundays in a row would come in there and distract me. And they sneak instead go junior church, come up, spend time with me. Because that was during the church I was doing that. I'm right there. The door was closed right where you go on stage or pulpit area. I should say stage is like a pulpit where it is preaching. So the guys would sneak up and spend time with me. Well, it was bothering me because it was interrupting my sermon. I mean, listening to a sermon because I really enjoyed it because I plugged in a headphone into that system. I sat there and I just listened to God's word in it, even as a young man. So one day I was like, man, these guys are disturbing me. I'll say something to Ron. And I said something to Ron. I said, these guys, they're my friends, but I'm wanting to listen to sermons. So you guys are kind of distracting me. Can you need to say something? Ron's like, no, that's up to you. I don't mind you guys being out there. That's up to you. So it was my first lesson. And finally, I had guys. So for a while they didn't. Then later, Chris started coming back a little bit. Chris White, and we were talking and seeing each other. So on and off, but not as much. So I was able to listen to the sermons. But it taught me I had to say something to him. It's my responsibility, and give him the reason why, and not try to put it off on Ron. And so we learned so much, and that's what life is, and that's what we're going to face real soon. We're going to be in heaven. We're going to have all kinds of stories. You think that it's just going to be, and yes, we give praises to God, but we're going to meet each other. We're going to have all dozens of stories. Not only that, we're going to hear stories from people that Noah's going to tell us stories. His family. We're going to meet people in his family, and they're going to tell us things. And it's just going to be a wondrous time. It's going to be a great time. It's a time worth waiting for, and it's everything. As my buddy, great Reverend Porkchop said, crazy guy. He said one time, he said, for those believers, the only hell will be here on earth. And for those unbelievers, all the heaven will be on earth. So for us believers, the future is bright. No matter what's happening out in the world. Yesterday, Jake and I were able to go to the food bank and get food. So I was sick all night. I made a pig of myself. I didn't make it to the gym this morning because I was so sick. Just eating and eating and eating. I was praying to God, thank you, because we got our food and we were able to eat. So, and now Friday is my payday, so we're good to go. But no matter how bad it gets, God's there for you. And no matter how much the world beats you down, we have such great blessings, and it gets us through a lot of things. I have a lot of memories. Uh, I was 21 years in the military, seen a lot, lost a lot of friends, especially when overseas fighting, and some good men that I miss and I long to be with. I remember I was with Jeffries, and we were sitting there, and it's like our second week. We went through like 26 Scud missile attacks, and we were sitting down there about 4 o'clock, well, it was around 5 o'clock in the morning, and border of Kuwait and Iraq. And he's like, "Want a cigar?" Because his father had just passed away. He got to go home for his father's funeral and came back. And I always talk about smoking cigars, and I love to have a Cuban cigar. But I knew smoking was bad for me. I didn't never smoke cigarettes or anything like that, but I was known to smoke a cigar every now and then. And because I grew up country boy, I was chewing tobacco at 10 years of age. So I used to chew tobacco and stuff like that. Of course, I stopped doing that. But, oh yeah, old country boy, chewing tobacco, sticking a cigar every now and then, going down by the river or pond, smoke a cigar while you're fishing. That was my thing to do. But I sat there and I was like, no, I'm trying to quit my smoking cigars. It's not good for me. So he says, dude, we survived another attack. Because at then I was telling him I don't want God to be upset with me smoking. And he was like, look what we survived. I was like, yeah. So we had a cigar together. And that was the best time of my life because later that day, we went on separate missions. And that was my last moment with him. I look forward to seeing him in heaven. You see things happen. And sometimes you can see just great evil. And there's a lot of evil on this earth. And it's getting worse. But we are the salt and light. We make a difference. That's why people put you down. That's why people mock you. Like I had this person mockingly saying something about pre-tribulation rapture, you're not going to die, huh? That's what, I'm explaining the video I'm making today. Yeah, we're not going to die. If we do die, fantastic. When I found out I had my cancer, stage 4 cancer, I was happy. I was smiling. And that doctor was like, I can't understand why you're smiling. I said, and he's from India, here in the United States, but he originally from India. And I told him, I said, I'm smiling because if I get through this, more time with my family. If I don't get through this, I'm going to my God. How can I not smile? There's many times I've been in a combat situation where my heart's been in my throat. I didn't know if I was going to freaking see the next day or the next moment. And yet, what's the outcome? You go to God. It's just that this flesh doesn't want to die. So I've seen people die horribly. So I've seen all kinds of things. And so, yeah, you don't want to go through the dying part, the actual physical dying, but I'm going to be with God. And pre-tribulation rapture, we don't even die because of Jesus Christ. What he did for us, that great hope. I look forward to making more videos. I'll have one out today, later. This is just a quick one, as I said. God bless you, and ramblings of an old man, I guess you could say. Thank you.